Joining us now, she is the head coach at Jacksonville State, coming off 37 wins last season. Of course, that's her alma mater, where she was a four-time all-conference shortstop and one of the great players, hitting 316 in her career, and a standout player, and of course, been a long-time assistant in the program prior to being the head coach. And so I speak of Julie Boland making her in the circle on D1 softball debut. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well, Eric. Thanks for having me today.
Good. You've done it all. Last year was your first year head coach season. Not bad. 37 wins, a 14 win improvement from the year before. What did you learn about yourself being in the head coaching chair versus being the assistant or associate head coaching chair?
A lot of things change. A lot of things stay the same, but there's a lot of things different. I think the biggest difference was everything ended with me. So questions, decisions, that part, I was just like, wow, this is a lot. But it was a whirlwind. It was fun. It went by really, really fast year one. If you'd asked me this last year in the middle of it, I would have said, I don't know which way is up and down. But at the end of the year, thinking about it, reflecting on it, I think just being able to be myself and coach the game that I love and the girls around me, my players, they bought into me and what I was trying to do with the program. And that's just take it to another level. They bought in. We had a lot of fun doing it for the year.
Was there one or two things in particular that you stands out to you? They're like, okay, now I know this going into my second year.
Um, Now I know this going into my second year. I think probably confronting anything that happens right away. I think putting a stop to maybe just little details that might go off track of our belief of our culture. Putting a stop to that right away. I think it's easier this year to say, okay, we're going to stop this right away. I don't have to second guess myself. I'm not used to being the head coach. So I think now it's more of a, okay, I know where my feet are, so we can move forward.
Of course, you're following a legend, but you worked with the legend for a long time. You know the legend as well as anybody. And of course, I speak of the legendary Jana McGinnis. Did that help in this transition that you were
100%.
just
Yeah.
describe that, just that kind of, because on the one, you knew all the players knew you, so that had to make it easier. But yet, you're following a legend in Jana McGinnis and everything she's accomplished.
Yep, absolutely. The biggest thing at first when I took over was not being able to see my best friend every day. We have been so close. She recruited me in the 90s, in the 1900s. And, we've seen each other more days than not out of the last 22 years. So not seeing my best friend every day. But when that transition happened, she was the first one telling me to be yourself, like be yourself, Julie. Don't try to be me. Don't try to coach like me. So I took that to heart, and it was constant. Once a week, twice a week, she'd call me, just checking in on me. Julie, be yourself. You're doing the right thing. So that helped out a lot. And then it turned into during season, I was calling her every day after every game. She's like, well, I don't want to bother you. I'm like, coach, I need to talk to you. You're my buffer, So to say that she was a part of the program still 100%. We talked at least 2 to 3 times a week for her advice. And it's advice I treasure. And I will treasure. As long as she's out of it, I will still be calling her for advice. So she's one of my best friends, but also greatest mentors in this.
Yeah, of course, she just got mentioned recently to the D1 softball all quarter century top 25 team for best head coaches of the century, mid majors, and she's doing very well for herself doing commentary, which she was nominated for a Golden Mike Award. So she's doing very well for herself.
Yes, she is. That's what she's like. I'm not sure if I want to do this, but I think she ate it up. One time I called her during a game and she said, Julie, I just get to sit back and watch. I get to read over all the stats and I don't have to worry if I should sack bunt or if I should have stole a runner. I don't have any of that pressure anymore.
Never loses in the booth. You never lose in the booth.
That's
I think
right.
that's what
That's
she's
right.
learned, and she's done. They're doing a really good job. I don't know if that was something that surprised you that she'd be good an analyst, or that she wanted to do, but she was very good at it.
Yeah, she's very good. She just every day she would come into the office when we worked together and she'd tell me about Major League Baseball and the stats and the players. And she would tell me about around the nation college softball players. I'm like, how do you know the West Coast players so well? And she's all her life, she's just followed stats, baseball and softball. So I knew she would be good at it. I don't know if it surprised her or not, but she's good at everything she does.
Right. So you take over the head coaching job. And on the one hand, you've been there a long time, so you know how everything works. But I'm sure there's part of you as the head coach that want to tweak some things that you think could be improve some things. What was that, if anything, in particular with the staff and just overall with the program? What did you tweak stuff? What was that like?
Yeah, I would say tweaking is a good word. I knew that our program had been a top program in the past, and I wanted to get back there. So we, as a staff, looked at where can we get better, where can we raise our intensity, our culture. How do we make that better? How do we make more of an impact for these girls? And one of the biggest things that we did, that it was kind of an experiment, but it really worked out, is we took our team and we kind of flipped them upside down, as far as we let freshmen go first in everything. They were expected to go first, eating, getting their gear, answering questions, going to doing drills. They got to go first, and the seniors were last. We tried to build servant leaders out of our seniors and make sure our freshmen knew that they were just as important as everybody else on the team. So I think that mentality, that switch of let me look out for the young ones first, and then the young ones in turn said, hey, let me help out the older ones that have been helping me out this whole time. I think that mental switch of teamwork and team aspect really helped out last year to get us to that next level.
When you reflect on last season, 37 wins, one win away from the NCAA tournament and a conference championship, what comes to your mind?
Being hungry to get back there. I knew we were capable of doing it, and it was really getting the players to believe that they deserved it and they were good enough to get there. And after that loss to Liberty in the conference championship, the very next week, every single player sat down and said, we cannot wait to get back after it. So being hungry, coming back, we have a solid core returning, and they are all hungry to get back there and even take it a step further. So I think, looking back, learning from that conference tournament, we had never made it so far in Conference USA. I think that's going to be big for this season.
Is there a bit of a chip on the shoulder on the returners? Just from that, it's one thing you lose the championship game, but it was kind of quirky with the setup of the tournament because you beat Liberty the day before, but because the championship game was single elimination, you only played them once, and I know that was a kind of a subject that was brought up right around that time period. I don't want to really dwell on that, but does that add some fuel to that chip on the shoulder and maybe some fire there? The players are like, hey, we could have beaten them if we could have gotten another opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. You can always play shoulda, woulda, coulda. We knew going into the tournament what the bracket setup was going to be. So it's one of those things, we knew what we had to do going in. Afterwards, yes, some of our players joke and they say, we actually tied. We both had one loss,
Right.
but we all knew going in. But yes, as far as a chip on the shoulder, yeah, you bring up other conference schools, you bring up Liberty specifically. Yeah, you can see a different kind of fire in their eyes. We have our second place trophy in our locker room, so that adds a little bit of fire too. So every day they get to see it, and I think, like I said, every day out, they're hungry to get better.
That's pretty good. You got a lot returning. You got 15 returners. You have a couple of transfers, 5 freshmen. How do you describe this team so far, what you've seen in the fall?
They're fun to be around. I'll describe them as a fun team. They're energetic, like we already talked about. They're hungry, but overall, they are the core that's returning. They are leading the new ones, and that's something that we haven't seen in a few years out of this program. As far as let me show you how it's done. Keep up with me. Try to keep up with me, and that's raising everybody's level of play. So that's fun to be around.
A lot of personnel returning, especially the offense. Of course, last year you had Emma Eldred, who's an all-region performer, had an all-time, one of the best seasons offensively that any Jacksonville State hitter ever had. Let's start with the offense and her and the impact there, what stands out for them and why they're so good.
Yeah, I think they put in the work. Emma Elrod, for example, she puts in the work. When they go to their hitting sessions, it's a culture that there's no messing around. There's no like, what if, there's no questioning. It's, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to get better. So Coach Haley is in charge of our hitters, and she has built a culture for them that just, we are going to be elite. and this is how we're going to get there. And all the players have bought into that, and they put in the work, and they have that mentality. Like, we are hitters. We are elite hitters. So it's one of those, you tell them over and over and over, they put in the work, they get a little bit of success like we had last year, and they're like, yeah, we can get there, and we will get there.
Who's some of the other names people should get familiar with that will contribute to this offense?
Yeah, I think you said it. Emma Elrod is going to be big. Morgan Nowakowski is going to get big. She's a fifth-year senior returning. Kaylee Martin, a sophomore returning. And you're shaking your head. Yes. I think Aria Davis. I think she got her feet wet last year, and she was freshman all team. I think she's going to be a big impact player coming back. And then our new ones are going to add some juice to the lineup as well. So.
That not the reason I'm nodding. It's like you have all this experience, and yet you're young still.
Yeah,
like it blows my mind away.
It blows my mind too.
It's a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But it's just impressive of that balance that you've had there with the experience and the youth in this team. And I think a lot of people started taking notice last year in Huntsville in the tournament when you knocked off Mississippi State. Do you feel like that was a turning point?
Absolutely, I do. We knew that was going to be a tough weekend going in, and we got a win against James Madison, and I think our girls were like, oh, we can do this. And then we played Mississippi State, like you said, beat them, almost knocked off Auburn. And, after that weekend, our ladies were like, it's not good enough to almost beat them. We should beat them. And so their mindset, especially as a young team, with 4 freshmen starting as a team, they said, no, we are going to beat teams like this. So after that weekend, it was very much, like you said, a turning point in mentality. The skill is there, but it's all about, baseball, softball. It's a mental game. So when they got their mindset on, we're good and we're going to show everybody we're good, I think that was the boost we needed to go forward.
You return a good chunk of your pitching returning, but Kat Carter, second team graduating there. How's the pitching outlook there looking?
Absolutely. Yeah. Kat's going to be a big loss. I mean, she was a great arm in the circle for us. But I am really excited about McKinley Portillo returning and Jalea Holmes, our senior. I think Jalea is at a point this year that she's like, this is my last year, and she's ready to deal. She has been putting in the work. McKinley Portillo, she has made some tweaks in her form, and she is throwing better now than I've ever seen her throw. And then we have 2 freshmen that are on the mound right now that I think are going to surprise some people.
Mentioned that's part of the 7 new faces you got with the 5 freshmen and the couple transfers. Just describe the new faces here as they blend in and their roles on a team that has a lot of experience and playing time experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we've got 7 new ones, 5 freshmen, and the funny thing is they're from all over. None of our freshmen are from the state of Alabama, so they all are joining together. They're meshing really well because they have that in common. But they get on the field, and you could see the jitters at first. It's the fall. They're not sure, what am I going to do? And again, we're pushing them to the front. But these last 2 weeks, they've really started to blossom into their own. We've got a catcher behind the plate who's showing out a little bit, showing the strength of her arm. We've got a freshman first baseman that's going to push Kaylee Martin as far as her bat. So it's exciting to see the new ones coming. And then our 2 transfers, we've got a pitcher/hitter. She's battling some injuries right now, Braden Mitchell, but she's an athlete just through and through. So we're looking for big things from her. And then our other transfer, Cheney Phillips, she came from Illinois. She has got a big stick. So it's, we're adding a lot to our lineup, and it's one of those things that everybody jokes, this is what you get paid the big bucks for. You're going to have to figure out the lineup. So It's a good problem to have, but it's a lot of talent.
Right. Before, a couple of years ago, you could just make suggestions. Hey, whatever. Right. I'm just going. But now you're like, okay, I got to make the actual decision here.
Right. I throw out a suggestion. I can walk out of the office and feel great about it. Not anymore.
Now you're like, okay, I got to lose sleep over this. But it's a good problem. Again, when you have talent like that, it's a good problem to have depth from that standpoint. Who's been a player of the returners that has stood out as far as taking their game to the next level?
I would say Aria Davis, our shortstop. I think, defensively, she was pretty solid for us, and offensively, she kind of went up and down through the season. But This fall, she has come back. And again, I think it's just growth. I think it's maturity out of her that she has really stepped up her game. So she's been a lot of fun to watch. Kaylee Martin, I think she is taking her expectations and she's running with it. She has set them high. I think everybody else talks about, Kaylee Martin, her power. And she's like, yeah, that's going to be me this year again. So she has come back even more mature. And like you said, we had a young team last year. It's huge the difference that they have in maturity from their freshman to sophomore year, not only experience, but just their mental edge. So that's been fun to watch. JC Underwood, another one. So all of them coming back. I could go down the list and we don't have time for 15 probably, but
No, I mean that's the best is too. All of them are motivated, inspired, and ready to go. I mean, I could tell they're eager to just get going on that. I want to talk about your staff because once you get promoted to the head coach, one of the first things you got to do is what do you want to do? Your vision for the staff. So take me through that thought process, and now all of a sudden, the maybe the toughest thing is you got to replace yourself
right.
in a role. So I'm fascinated. Take me through that process as you made your decision on the staff.
So, that's interesting because I've never had to do it. I've never had to hire. I've never had to think 5 people on staff. When I coached with Coach McGinnis, it was me and another assistant. There's the 3 of us for years and years. So being in charge and collaborating with a staff of 5 is very different. So I will say I'm still learning. I'm still figuring it out. But my main charge, I think, is to make sure we are all on the same page in every single thing we do. So I want to know what the hitters' plans are. I want to know what the pitchers' plans are. I want to know what our defensive plans are. And not that I am trying to overbear on them, but we all have to be on the same page. So every player that comes up, they know what Coach Julie is saying is the same thing of what Coach Haley is saying. It's the same thing of what Coach Liv is saying. So and that's one thing I want to surround myself with people that we have the same personality, we have the same values, we have the same vision for this program as a whole. And I think this year I'm surrounded by those type of people. My replacement of me, Coach Haley Sims, she played for us. She went off and coached at a few other places and then came back. So she's my right hand. She knows exactly what I want. She knows a lot of times before I even ask for something, she's on top of it. And then we have Coach Holly is back, who has played for us. Coach Garrett is back, who was our manager, our DO, and now has been promoted to assistant coach. And then the newest addition is Coach Liv, and she was actually coached for 4 years by one of my teammates from Jacksonville State. So she's got some Jack State blood in her as well. So it's just the like-minded people that have the same vision for Jacksonville State as I do.
What's your style? Do you delegate a lot? Do you have hands-on a specific area in the game? And how is that different than when you were obviously on the other side with Coach McGinnis?
Yeah. That's one thing I'm still working on, Eric, to say, here, take it over. And, I trust you with it, run with it. Because when I was an assistant, I had a lot of on the field, hands-on, one-on-one work with the players. As a head coach, I just don't have time for that anymore. So we like to talk about our plans. We like to talk about the progression of each part of the game with our girls. And then I turn it over to them because I would never want to hire somebody that I can't trust to turn over to get better. So once I turn it over to them, I fully trust them. Hey, we're going to get better in this area. This is what they're communicating to me. And then I see it on the field. And if there's a problem, like we'll talk about it as a staff. But our players know that their coach that's coaching them at the time, that's 100% trust in them.
Did Coach McGinnis kind of put you aside as look, I'm going to groom you to be a head coach, or did she blindside you? I'm very because I know I've heard, everybody's different. Some coaches like to give their assistant a heads up, maybe groom them. Some just blindside because hey, I didn't think it just came out of nowhere. So where's that category here with you?
Well, I think for us it was. The whole time I worked for her, she said, Julie, I'm never going to hold you back. If you want to go get another job, I support you 100%. I want whatever you want. I want you to do that. I want you to be happy. So I had gone on interviews, other assistant jobs, other head jobs, and it always came back to the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I worked for somebody who gave me a lot of say in the program and the development of the girls. So I never really wanted to leave because I didn't want to end up somewhere and be miserable and leave something that I absolutely loved. So for me personally, that was my thoughts on it. But for her leaving, she, the last year, she had a family member get sick. So she would talk to me about that. Her parents were getting older. She's like, Julie, she kind of gave me the heads up as far as I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm going to need to help my family out. So she kind of gave me a heads up with that. And then about 2 months before she retired, she said, Julie, I'm meeting with the people I need to meet with. It looks like it's coming sooner than later, and she just talked me through the process for probably about the two months beforehand,
Wow.
which would have been over the summer.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple month process. What's it been like seeing this program? I mean, I'm so fascinated with your program because when you played, you were in the TAC,
Yep.
which I covered when it was the TAC.
Trans-American. Yep.
Yes. I don't know how many
Yeah.
in the audience now remembers that. Of course, there's now the A-Sun. But then you go to the Ohio Valley Conference, which you spent a ton of time from 03 to 21. Everybody will remember the run to the super regional, I believe in 09. You have a brief return to the A-Sun, only then to go to Conference USA, where you've now been with the last couple of years. How do you describe this journey for the program, and what's it been like from a transition standpoint? Is it a big transition?
Right.
Like, what's it been like?
It's been different. It's been different. Like, to be honest, from when I played to when we transitioned over to the OVC, I didn't really understand it. I was young. But we were in the OVC for so long. When we got out and went to the A-Sun, that was different. We were like, okay, like a whole new level of ball. And then when we went from A-Sun to Conference USA, it was even a bigger change. We're like a different level of ball, different level of athletes. So I think the biggest thing is the conference play. So in all my years in conference before Conference USA, we played a doubleheader on Saturday, one on Sunday. And then now in this conference, we play one Friday, one Saturday, one Sunday. So we're like, what do we do with the team all day while we wait to play? Like, we're used to double headers. So that was a big transition. And then just the quality of athletes in this league is different. So our recruiting has changed a little bit as well. I would say that's the biggest thing. The championships, the regional appearances while we were in the Ohio Valley, we want to get back to that. Our girls, our players, they don't care that it's a different level of ball. They want championships. So I think that's fun to be around. But as far as the differences, I would say those are the two biggest ones.
Well, and I wonder among coaches if you all talk about you could be a multi-bid league here at CUSA.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
people realize, but you were the number 8 conference last season, according to the RPI in college. So, I mean, there were scenarios there where you could have been a multi-bid league even last
Right.
year, right?
Right.
If a couple different swings go, and maybe the conference tournament goes a different way. Is that something you all talk about as the coaches in the league?
Absolutely. Yes. We were on a conference call a few weeks ago, and that's one thing we're trying to push. Every school, every head coach is talking about strength of schedule to try to get multi-bids in there. Because I think that's the level we want to get to. We want to get there consistently. Because I want to say before we came into the league, I think 3 from Conference USA had made it to regionals. And then last year, if we would have beat Liberty would have got in, and we would have got in. So that's not only just for Jacksonville State, for our conference as a whole. We want to grow our conference as a whole. So that's something all head coaches are on board with is strength of schedule and pulling wins out of that strength of schedule.
Yeah, and what's it been like? What have you learned from CUSA? You got Western Kentucky and Coach Tudor and the job she's done. Louisiana Tech as well. They've been in the mix, among others. I know it's been, you got Delaware joining the league after winning their conference regular season title. So that could add some, depth, even more depth to the league.
Yeah, for sure. And Delaware, Missouri State added in. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I will say, all the head coaches around the league, they have welcomed me with open arms. So I want to say just for the head coaches as a whole, I think they're just fantastic people, and they want to see the sport grow. But as far as Amy Tudor, I've known her for years, so it's fun to go head to head against her as a friend and a competitor. And like you said, Josh at La Tech, I mean, he has been nothing but top class when it comes to helping me out as a first time head coach, and trying to just figure out how can we get better as a whole. It's one of those things. Some coaches they want to keep their information secret and not share. I think this Conference USA softball coaches, they want to help and they want to make everybody else better, because that's the only way we can get our league to the next level too.
Conference tournament this year, I believe, is in Delaware.
Is in Delaware.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to, and I don't want to bring it up again. We talked about it briefly earlier about the format and everything. It is what it is in advance, and it sounds like it's going to inspire a group to this year, which could be the end result could be a big positive at the end of the day. That being said, I do wonder, has there been conversation about the format of the conference tournament, of either tweaking it or things like that? Because just from a casual perspective, I mean, I remember I was in a hotel in Oklahoma City, and I was just as confused. I thought, well, they're going to get another game. No, they're not. Okay, and I've covered the league for a long time. I'm a huge fan of CUSA going back to when I've covered it since 2007. I've covered like 8 conference championships in person. So I'm not like, they've done the single elimination tournament. In fact, I was at the first one when they did the single elimination championship game in '08. So I'm familiar with it, and TV plays a factor in that as well. Right. Let's not kid. It's big important with the game being on CBS Sports Network. With all that being said, though, how has there been conversation of tweaking the tournament format?
There has, actually. That same conference call that we were just in, we're trying to get more teams in the tournament to give the kids experience, that tournament experience. So I believe this year we are going from a 6-team bracket to an 8-team. Ooh. So 5 and 8 will play each other for a play-in. 6 and 7 will play each other for a play-in, and then the double elimination bracket will start, and then championship will still be single. So it gets more teams in, a little bit more playing time, but the championship will still be a single elimination game. So yes, there's always talk of tournament bracket. How do we get the best teams there, and how do we get the best teams out of there? So yeah, that's the changes we're going to make for this year.
What was the reasoning behind adding the teams there?
I think if you followed us this past season, there was such parity between 3 and 8. It came down to the last weekend, and it came down to who was going to win, who was going to lose, and some teams didn't find out till Sunday afternoon with a win or a loss to make it into the tournament. So I think it's just to get those teams, everybody in, and then it's whoever can play the best that week is going to move on.
It's so fascinating because the CUSA, I've seen the format evolve. Like the first CUSA tournament I ever covered was in '07. They were in Orlando. It was double elimination all the way up until the championship game.
Right.
And I remember, the reason why I remember about the TV is because of weather and the games going long, they had to play a semifinal game before the championship game, and the game went, of course, like 12 innings. And everybody's nervous because, like, we're going to miss our TV slot. So I'm quite familiar with that. Then '08, they changed it to single elimination format throughout, right, which I remember and then years later, coaches just changed it because they didn't like the single suddenness of coming to an end. And so they've kind of trying to mix in single and double elimination format. If it was up to you, just you, what would be your formula for a conference tournament?
I like the double elimination in the if game. And that may be coming from, because that's how I played as a player. That's how, when I started coaching, that's how it was. This is a first for me, the single elimination, even though we've been in Conference USA 2 years. But yeah, I like the double elimination, the if game. The best players are going to play. The best team is going to win. Right. And along that line, I remember there was one year in OVC that we got rain come in and we had to play our championship if game Sunday morning. Right. And we had to be done by a certain time for television purposes. And I remember the regional committee, it was between us and Southeast Missouri. And they said, we're just going to put them right in the middle. So we ended up at Louisville's regional because they didn't know which team was going to win on Sunday.
Yeah. As a bracketologist myself, that sounds about right. That's what I would have done. So I'm not surprised by any of that. That's just the way it is sometimes, What are you gonna do? Very good tease. Let's talk about you as a player. Describe yourself as a player for those that didn't watch you play.
I wanted to hit more than play defense, and I joked that when I played, I was like, just get us off defense. Like, let's go hit. So I had more of a hitter's mentality than a defense mentality. Even though I love defense, I just wanted to score runs. I wanted to hit the ball and run. So as a player, I think I'm super competitive. I hate to lose. I'm not a good loser. I'm a sore loser. We play competitions with our team now, and they're like, "Don't play against Coach Julie. She'll lose her temper." But yeah, I'd say I was a pretty big competitor as a player.
How would Julie Boland, the player, get along with Coach Boland?
We probably butt heads some. Yeah, to be honest, we would butt heads. I was a stubborn player, and I think I'm a stubborn coach sometimes. So, um, I was one of those athletes that you had to kind of rein in every once in a while and say, "Hey, get it together before we move on." But yeah, we would butt heads.
What drew you to Jacksonville State?
I want to say the culture. When I met Coach McGinnis and I was around the players, just the culture, the family atmosphere, the campus as a whole, it wasn't one of those that was too big that I would get lost in. I was from Dallas, Texas, so the city area, I didn't want to get in the city environment. And then it wasn't small enough to where everybody knew your business. So the campus as a whole, the community, but the softball team, the culture, I just when I came on my visit, this was my first visit out of 5 when I was in high school, and I fell in love with it right away. It was a gut feeling, and I went home and I told my mom, "So that's where I'm going to school, Mom." And she's like, "Nope, it's too far away." And I went on all my visits, and I said, "I want to go to Jack State." So it was just, I tell all our recruits, trust your gut. You'll have a gut feeling. Trust your gut. You want to be happy where you go. Jacksonville State may not be for you, but it may. But your gut is important. Get your advice from your parents. But that's why I chose Jacksonville State. I loved it. It was an educational school. I wanted to go into education with my degree. But it was just the team aspect, the culture of it was what I was looking for.
Describe softball in the state of Alabama. Not just from a Division I standpoint, that's easy. Obviously, with your program at Alabama's and the Auburns and all that, but you got Division II with Alabama Huntsville, and obviously, I think of that with the job that the success they've had, and just even the lower level. What's it like? And then even this summer with the pro game, the championships, the AUSL championship being held in the state of Alabama. What's it like?
Yeah, I think that it's just a testament to the growth of Alabama in the sport of softball. You look at the high schools, our surrounding high schools from South Alabama all the way up to North Alabama, they're getting better and better and better. The skill level's getting better, the coaching's getting better. And then you go to the junior college level. There are some solid junior colleges around here. We host a tournament every fall, and we've got junior college, D1, D2 junior colleges. We've got D2 schools coming in here and D1 schools coming in. And it's just fun to be around all those different levels and see the growth of the sport. There's no more, you can just walk all over them because they're a team from Alabama. So it's just a testament to the growth of high school travel ball, the great travel ball teams in Alabama, to junior college to D1 programs. And, the top being Alabama, Auburn, and then all the other D1 schools here, North Alabama, Troy, us, South Alabama. Like, we could have an all Alabama tournament and it would be fantastic. That'd be fun to play in. So, I think just the growth as a sport as a whole. And that's what it's about. I think that's one of the reasons I want to coach, is because I want not only to make these young ladies better, but to make the sport better, because it's a sport that I love.
Well, and a case in point was that Huntsville, Alabama tournament you participated in last year. What was it like to be part of that tournament? I know that was a big deal for that area. They're trying to do big tournaments and events. What was it like being in that tournament?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to see the field transformation first. That was broadcasted online, and that was really, really cool to see. But the support from the Huntsville area, North Alabama, the fans that came in, it was a lot of fun to be around. And the guy that ran it, Joel, he's a friend of mine from college. He went to Jack State, and it was cool having an inside look of all the goings ons and how they got the teams in and how it progressed from the baseball stadium to softball stadium. And then just the fans that came out to see it was fun to be in front of.
No, that's awesome.
And it was freezing cold that weekend too. And they still came out. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's just amazing to me of the state. I mean, heck, I believe it was the conference tournament. A-Sun recently just had a couple years where they play their tournaments up in Alabama as well at the what was it, the other ballpark.
Chakalaka.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And they've
Yeah.
also where they've hosted pro championships there as well. So I mean, it's just everywhere.
Right.
What's going to be weird is obviously I'm just getting used to not seeing Coach McGinnis in the dugout, although I'm listening to her, so that's a good thing. But now we're going to have to get used to no Les Studerman, who
Yes.
in Huntsville, which kind of is crazy to me, but
Yeah.
that's life.
You know what's crazy, because they were in that Rocket City tournament, and I called her after she retired, and she's like, Julie, seeing what you did with your program gave me the boost to get out for Melanie. Melanie is going to do a great job.
Wow.
And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I've just kind of been on the fence about it, but seeing you take over the program, she said, Melanie loves this program just as much as you love Jacksonville State. She's going to do great things. And I was like, well, great. Les, I'm glad I could help.
That's amazing when a legend
Yeah.
is like, and say you inspired them. That's great.
Yeah.
And you've seen it all. You've been around it. I mean, Coach McGinnis or Patrick Murphy, Becky Clark at South Alabama. I mean, even Coach Studerman did D2, on and on. I can go on and on. I mean, these people that are so significant in the sport. What you've been around them all, either going against them or obviously working with them, etc. And you've all helped. They've all helped contribute to the sport and into the state.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just, it's a testament to the kind of people they are. Everybody that you just listed, again, great human beings that want to help everybody. They don't want to just help their program specifically. They want to help everybody. They want to grow the sport as well. And I think that's what's getting Alabama more on the map with the sport of softball. Because I remember when we played Alabama, and they were a club level team. They weren't even a NCAA recognized team. So they've come a long way. But I think any footing that we can get to help grow the sport, especially for the state of Alabama, I think everybody is hands-on with that. And we're lucky.
I'm all for the All Alabama tournament you brought up earlier. I'm all for it.
We tried it one year. We did it one year. And we said we were going to do it every other year, but it just fizzled out, with scheduling and conflict.
It's tough.
It's hard. Yeah, it was hard. But it was a lot of fun because every D1 program played the same weekend.
It's tough too because it helps you from a scheduling standpoint, having that much quality in the state that you could play them in a midweek and fit them in the schedule versus burning it all in one weekend. So that's the tricky part, but it's pretty cool because I know all of you have played like neutral site games too during midweeks. It's not like just traditional home and homes or homes. You guys try to be creative, all of you.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I think. We played Alabama last fall or 2 falls ago in Albertville.
Yeah.
They had a park opening. So we helped put on like a fundraising event for them, and the crowd was unbelievable. And then last fall we played Alabama at Chakalaka Park.
Yes.
Same thing. We had a huge crowd come out for that. So yeah, very good.
I think that's smart. It's kind of like what college basketball does, where they play a lot of neutral sites and just grow the game. I think I felt like a lot of states could learn from what you all have been doing up in the state of Alabama there.
Yeah.
2 quick things before I let you go. This will be the toughest question I ask you the whole interview.
Okay.
All right. Give me, if it could be either a Mount Rushmore, if you want to just limit it, but I'm going to give you a Mount Rushmore. Give me your Mount Rushmore of Jacksonville State players since you've been around there. It could be teammates, it could be players you've coached. Give me your Mount Rushmore of Jacksonville State players.
Whitney Gillespie, Daniela Papano, Nikki Pryor, Jamie McGuire. You put me on the spot on this one.
I told you it was going to be the hottest question.
Well, and the thing is I know them all.
It's good.
Been 28 years of players.
It's pretty good.
Let's see. Nikki, Daniela, Ann Shelton, have to say her, Wendy McKibben. I didn't play with them, but they were graduate assistants. Rachel Countryman.
It's a good list.
Yeah, those are the top.
That's good. No, that's good. All right. You did well. Well,
I didn't say Haley or Holly. Haley, can I say Haley and Holly too?
Do what you got to do. Go ahead.
Give them a shout. So
Give them the shout outs. It's
Yeah.
hard. I just wanted to mention that because it's just to kind of showcase the great players that you've all
Yeah.
developed. And that was kind of my point. Like, what's the key to developing the great players?
I think the first one is trust. Like you get these players in here and they have skill. So can they trust you enough to change, to be coached, to reach the next level? So the great players, I mean, there's players that can play all over the nation. So can you bring these players in? Can you develop them? And in order to develop them, can they trust you enough to say, okay, coach, I'll get uncomfortable so I can get better? Or are they just going to say, no, this is how I've done it my whole life. I'm fine with it. So I think that's one of the big pieces of can we get to the next level is um, can you trust me enough to say you may not feel great right now, but in 2 months you're going to see all the hard work pay off. So I think that's the big push for the great players.
Fantastic. All right, last question before we let you. You've been you're talking to me as we record this on a game day for you.
Yeah.
As you go through the rest of the fall and then the season gets going, what are a couple things you're looking forward to learning about this team, this particular team, that you think will help define how the season goes in 2026?
I think it's going to be how we respond to adversity. There's no team, there's no season that's easy. Something is always going to come up, whether it's on the field, whether it's off the field, locker room, whatever it is. How are we going to respond to adversity? Can we be mature enough to respond in the right way to make sure we stay together as a team to, in turn, stay together to win? So I think that's going to be the fun thing to watch and see how mature can this core be coming back, 15 players, even though a lot of them are sophomores still. Are we mature enough to move forward together?
All right, Coach. Well, that's Julie Boland, head coach, Jacksonville State, legendary player herself. I would have thrown, yourself in there in that list, but you were very unselfish. You're like, I'm just gonna not mention myself, but I would throw you in there. But hey, listen, this was awesome to get to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's a hectic schedule during the fall and get ready and everything you're doing, but really wanted to have you on, and certainly you delivered. We'll definitely have you back on down the road, but good luck the rest of the fall, and thanks for talking to us here on In the Circle of D1
Absolutely.
Softball.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.